Hello, everyone. This is Eric Deal with B&V Capital Advisors, the investment banking subsidiary of Briggs & Maselka, and we're excited to share that the Main Street lending program is finally here. The Fed came out yesterday with a series of press releases which finalized the Main Street lending programs, allowing banks to formally register for the program and begin funding loans. So this brief presentation that our team put together covers the recent key updates over the past couple of days and weeks. If you are new to the Main Street Lending Program or looking for a more holistic overview of the program, we would point you to the Boston Federal Reserve webinars, which are available on their website, along with various documents, historical press releases, and a pretty lengthy frequently asked question document, all of which continues to be the best source of information about all the programs. So we would point you to those resources as well. So let's dive in. Lenders now have access to the lender portal through the Fed to submit loan requests. This is a significant step in the programs coming online. And the Fed stated directly yesterday that they are encouraging lenders to begin making loans immediately. So in this brief update, we'll cover some key changes to loan terms, outline additional clarification on affiliation rules for our friends in private equity, and briefly touch on a new program for nonprofit organizations that was detailed in a press release yesterday. Other updates that are worth noting include clarifications on certain borrower certifications, as well as the FAQ document that has been updated with 3 appendices that include a loan documentation checklist, the required covenants in loan documentation, and outlines required federal or financial reporting in the 3rd appendix. So this table outlines the major changes to the individual loan programs. The range of the loan sizes has been increased for each facility. The new loan facility size is $250,000 to $35 million. The priority loan facility is $250,000 to $50 million, and the expanded loan facility is now $10 million to $300 million. On collateral, this topic came up a couple of times during yesterday's webinar that the Fed hosted. And while no formal changes have been made to the required collateral, the Fed did clarify that lenders will have pretty wide discretion on the amount and form of collateral that may or may not be required. So I thought it was worth mentioning, giving some clarification there. Maturity is now 5 years for all facilities, and the amortization schedule has been aligned across all 3 facilities. The repayment schedule was reduced quite a bit, with now the first 2 years requiring no principal payments, then 15% principal payments in years 3 and 4, with the remaining 70% ballooning at maturity in year 5. So keep in mind, there is still no prepayment penalty on any of these programs, so borrowers can start making principal payments really at any time, but certainly within those first 2 years if they choose. Finally, the participation rate has been aligned across all 3 programs. The Fed will purchase 95% of the loans, while the lender will continue to hold 5% for each facility. So just a quick reminder too on how the Main Street programs compare to the ever popular Paycheck Protection Program. With the Main Street programs, loans are not forgivable. They must be repaid according to the terms here. And secondly, lenders play a much more significant role in the Main Street programs. They are required to underwrite Main Street loans according to their own internal credit approval process. And so the Main Street program is not an automatic facility. It is important to discuss the process and the application with your lender. Next, we wanted to highlight some of the affiliation rules, especially as they relate to companies with private equity, venture capital, or some other form of institutional funding. Access to the Main Street program seems to be a little bit more difficult for portfolio companies of these institutional groups. Firstly, in terms of being eligible for the program, the revenue test of $5 billion or less and the employee test of 15,000 or less has to be applied across all affiliates, which in this case would include all majority-owned portfolio companies of a private equity group. Second, if one affiliate or portfolio company applies for one of the Main Street facilities, then all other portfolio companies that wish to participate would have to apply for that same facility. So that's as it pertains to the new primary or extended loan facility. A group of affiliated borrowers would also need to aggregate their Main Street loans for purposes of the maximum loan size. So for instance, The new loan facility, that would be the lesser of 35 million or 4 times EBITDA. So what all this means is that if a private equity group has multiple portfolio companies applying, not only do they have to all apply for the same loan facility, but they must all aggregate their revenue, employees, and leverage to determine their eligibility and how much can be borrowed. The only exception to this would be if a private equity group only has one portfolio company participating, and in that case, they do not have to aggregate debt or EBITDA to determine the loan size. The loan amount there would just be based on the borrower's metrics and any subsidiaries that are owned by that borrower. So this is described in much more detail in the Fed's FAQ, specifically question E12. It even outlines an example scenario. So for any borrowers that have any type of institutional funding, we would highly recommend reviewing the entire eligibility section of the FAQ. It's pretty helpful. Looking at the lenders, they can begin registering as eligible lenders starting yesterday, June 15th. A refreshed set of required documentation is now available on the Fed's website. Lenders are encouraged to start making loans immediately per the press release that the Fed released yesterday. There is a lot of information contained in all of these documents, and we're not going to go into any kind of detail in this brief update, but we just thought it was important to outline the list of critical information that lenders would need to review while they register for the program. And a lot of the lenders are probably already up to speed on this, but again, just in an effort to be thorough. There are also a significant number of FAQs that are lender specific, including loan participation, regulatory treatment, operational details, administration, as well as loan documentation as well. So that is all available on the Boston Federal Reserve website. The Federal Reserve Board on yesterday announced it would be seeking public feedback on a proposal to expand its Main Street lending program to provide access to credit for nonprofit organizations. And because the circumstances, structure, and needs of nonprofit organizations vary pretty widely, public feedback is being sought to help make the program as efficient and effective as possible. So feedback may be submitted via email on the Fed's website only until next Monday. The press release came out yesterday. They're giving a week comment period. So given that short timeline, we're hopeful that this program would roll out hopefully very quickly. There is a proposed term sheet on the Fed's website that outlines the proposed eligibility requirements, which is summarized here. And very briefly on the loan structure, there are two contemplated loan options for the Main Street nonprofit loans, the new loan and expanded loan. Both of these options are very similar to their counterparts in the for-profit Main Street lending programs. So again, all this information is available on the Fed's website. That's it for our updates. Just a reminder that our firm continues to stand by to help borrowers and lenders in their respective roles in this program. For nonprofit and for-profit borrowers, that would include audit, tax, transaction advisory services, including restructuring and recapitalization advisory services offered by our investment banking firm. For lenders, our banking team continues to be very active in helping our lending institutions understand not only the compliance, but also the regulatory impacts driven by the Main Street lending program and the Paycheck Protection Program as well, and even the broader economic challenges of what this entire year has brought upon everyone. So once again, this was meant to be a very brief update on the recent changes that have come down from the program in the past couple of days and weeks. There's an abundance of information on the Main Street program available on the Federal Reserve website, Boston website. There is now a borrower page and a separate lender page to help folks find the applicable information that's needed. The Fed is continuing to hold webinars that do a pretty good job of providing information and answering a lot of questions. If you haven't been able to attend one of those yet, they do post the recordings on their website, and I particularly find those pretty useful, especially the Q&A portion of those. So thank you for listening. If you have any questions for us, please email us at mslpassistance@bvccpa.com or reach out to one of our partners or someone on our team, and we'll do whatever we can to assist our clients and friends through what certainly are challenging times. So thanks again, everyone. Stay safe. Have a great day.